Hey, welcome to your Scorpio horoscopes for the first week of the year. Yay! Starting today, New Year's Eve. I'm all ready to go. Ending on the 6th of January. So the first official week of 2024. Mercury's retrograde is ending on Tuesday. And we do have a bit of a shadow period. So it's not technically ended until next Tuesday, but it might lift the craziness a little bit, although it hasn't been too terribly crazy, but I'm gonna knock on wood because, sometimes those shadow periods can be a little bit more crazy than the actual retrograde. Officially, no planets in Scorpio anymore, although we do have the moon moving into Scorpio at the end of the week, starting about midday Thursday through Friday. That is going to cause a little bit of challenge as the moon moves into opposition. In fact, a T-square really on Friday with Jupiter and Pluto focuses on relationships. At least the moon is bringing relationship focus into this. While Jupiter is focused on self, Pluto is really focused on career here. So this is one of those classic cases really where you're trying to accomplish something for yourself and your own success, and somebody comes in and is like, well, what about me? You're not spending time with me, and it just, it feels like it's very difficult for you to be able to balance everything. As a wife and mother, this has come up for me so many times in my business because it's just something that I think we really have to work hard on being able to balance everything out. And it really is basic human nature to get so sucked into one thing that we just sort of ignore everything else, if that makes sense. The moon is also moving into opposition with Uranus on Saturday as well, also focused on self. So while the moon continues to be focused on relationships, and Pallas Athene moves into that focus on relationships as well. So really, I feel like there's a couple of different things going on to add to the bit of a challenge that we had with this one. One is also not just about, having a problem being able to toggle between the responsibilities to your family and the responsibilities to your own goals and your own success. But part of that also has to do with really paying attention to the relationships that you are forming. Are they helpful to you? Are they symbiotic? Are you putting just as much effort and energy into these relationships as they are putting into the relationship? It's always a good time to check in with that, if that makes sense, because unfortunately, we find out when we're not checking out that we're going through life with a lot of attachments to people who really aren't necessarily good for us, or they're just, we have taught them the improper way to treat the relationship, if that makes sense. So I have to say, and I don't want to sound negative, but there is nothing but example after example after example coming up around me of people who are there for what they need and not there when it's not in their best interest. And these are the relationships that I am talking about. Really taking the time to put some boundaries on those relationships, or maybe even eliminating them if that is possible. I know that's not possible with every relationship, of course, but wherever it is possible, it might not be a bad thing to look into. The good news is the moon is in a sextile with the sun as well as Mars through this. Really, both planets really focused on your long-term career goals. So it's not that you can't focus on these things. It's that you have to kind of put some boundaries on the relationships and on your own schedule so that you're not uber focused on just one thing and ignoring everything else, because that's also one of those basic human things that we do, which is not necessarily a good idea, if that makes sense. So That is what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider sending a tip or donation through my coffee link, which is there in the description. Really appreciate the support. You guys are amazing. Love you to pieces. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. I will see you next week. I will see you next year. You guys, doesn't matter what happens, just make it a great week because that really is what it's all about. I'll see you guys next week.